The cane pole reminded me of my childhood. When we were real little out on the farm, my dad had these old cane poles. I think they were probably from his grandfather or great-grandfather. They've been handed down for generations. My brother and I decided that they would make good high jump bars. I think he could have killed us. They didn't last long after my generation. Alice would have killed him too. Last week, I asked you to fill out the PUPAC forms, which we didn't do this morning, but if you haven't passed this around, please do pass it around. Guests and visitors, there is a place at the bottom to write your contact information. Please do. We really do look at those and read them, and we try to get back to you as best we can. So if you read that information, we appreciate it. But I asked you to write down your gifts and talents and abilities. And I went through those last week at some point. And as I was reading, how do I organize this? How do I put this in a way that will make sense, that I can access it, that I can figure out something from it? And what I hit upon was using these index cards or recipe cards and writing the gift in the center of the card and then the names of the people who claim to have that gift next to the gift. And I'm going to read the gifts to you this morning. I'm not going to read all the names. I don't have that kind of time, but I do want to read the gifts to you. And then ask you for your feedback, your thoughts about all of these gifts. We have a bus driver. We have somebody who knows carpentry. Somebody who works with children. Counseling. Disaster response. Drawing and art. Endurance and patience. Fishing. Food. Serving. Preparation, cooking, baking, humor, music, bells, choir, dance, numbers, other people, visiting others, compassion and encouragement, plants, gardening, landscaping, and yard work, positive thinking, joy and love, prayer, problem solving, reading, security, teaching, tennis, wheels of hope, working, following orders and helping others. That's the list. Any thoughts? Any ideas? What struck you as I was reading all of those gifts and talents? Anything? The variety. There were a lot of gifts and talents. And some of them had more than one person. Some had 3 or 4 people or 5. And, but a huge variety. God has given us a lot of gifts. Yeah.
A little village of God's people.
A little village of God's people.
Aren't we lucky to have all those talents?
Aren't we lucky to have all those talents in this small place? Any others?
It takes all those talents to make a whole.
Takes all those talents to make a whole.
It'd be amazing how many more talents we have for those people that could fill out something.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Because as I was going through the forms, I got to noticing a lot of people didn't fill them out as I asked you to do it. I go, well, okay, maybe they didn't understand the direction. Maybe the PUPAC didn't get passed back the way it was supposed to. But I started to suspect, at least for some people, is that I've been around church a while, and this seems like a sneaky attempt to get me to volunteer for something. I'm not writing down anything. That wasn't my goal, really, but I can see where it might be led to that. Or possibly We don't know our own gifts.
We, you know, you can think of maybe one thing, but we are not outward enough to express
Yeah.
our talents.
And then there were a few people that wrote 3 or 4. I don't think anybody wrote more than 4 gifts on their paper. And what does that say?
They're very talented.
They're very talented. They want to do more, maybe? Maybe we need to have those conversations. But it was very interesting going through the gifts and the talents and the abilities that people felt that they had. I thought that was a fun exercise for me. And kind of gave some of them were really. But now let me ask you another question. Which gift's the most important? Oh, you're quick. You're quick, aren't you? That's not a good question. That's not a fair question. Because, at least to me, in my mind, somebody asked, well, mine is. My gift's the most important, and I'm sure Jerry said, well, my gift's the most important. Here, Joyce over there, my gift's the most important. We all tend to think that our own gift is the most important. We put ourselves at the center of our universes. It's human. But as we're in church, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. It's not a good question. It is not a good question because it's not a very far jump from which gift is the best to which person is the best Christian sitting in the pew. And that's not where we need to go. But that's where Paul had gone. Not Paul, actually. It was the church in Corinth. That's where the church in Corinth had gone into this question of who's the best Christian? Who's the best? Who has the greatest gift of following the best leader in the church? And that's what Paul was trying to deal with here in this particular passage. And it starts out very interesting because how does all this get started? Paul has received a letter, or he has received some visitors from Chloe. Paul started the church in Corinth. That's what Paul did. Paul traveled around huge amounts of area. Think about by ship, by walking. The man got around for a time when it wasn't that easy to travel. But he started churches all over the place. And he started a church in Corinth. And he stayed in touch. Chloe was in this church in Corinth, and she has sent a report or sent somebody, her people have gone there. One way or the other, Paul has heard that there is a problem in the church in Corinth. They're fighting with each other. They're arguing with one another. But Paul does a very interesting thing when he writes back to the church in Corinth. He doesn't start out with Chloe's report, which, by the way, I like how the online, the United Methodist website commentary writes on that. Paul throws Chloe under the bus. Chloe's people tell me, and you're like, I hope Chloe isn't in the church when they get the letter, or Chloe's in real trouble. But we don't know what happened there. But he writes this letter, and he starts off with what we talked about last week. Do you know how great you are? Do you know all the gifts and talents and abilities God has blessed you with? Think about it. All the things that you have in your church, how God has been there and done that. You are an amazing church. That's how Paul starts out, and that's what we talked about last week. And only then does he bring in Chloe's report. Poor Chloe. Chloe's people tell me, you guys are fighting. And what are they fighting about? It seems so ridiculous to us today. It seems so silly. But one person says, I belong to Paul. I belong to Paul. Paul started the church. He was the founder of the church, so I'm the best because I follow Paul. The next person says, well, I'm better because I follow Apollos. Apollos is another New Testament, similar to Paul, went around starting churches, and a contemporary Paul. Maybe he came a little later than Paul. Maybe he was younger, more handsome. We don't know. But some people thought, well, I'm better because I follow Apollos. The next person says, no. I follow Cephas. Now, for you biblical scholars out there, you realize that Cephas is Peter. Simon Peter. And you can see what they're doing, can't you? Cephas, Peter, is one of the big 12. He was one of the followers of Jesus. He was there from the beginning. I follow Peter. I'm better than you. Not to be outdone, the next person says, well, I follow Jesus. And Paul says, you guys are missing the boat. You don't get it. You don't understand what this is all about. And then the online commentary does another thing that I really like. It says, Paul had one of his senior moments. I thank God that I didn't baptize any of you. Well, I did baptize that one fellow. Oh, yeah, I baptized those people over here too. And I may have done some other, I can't remember who I baptized. But it's not the point. It's not about me. It's not about what I did. And it's not about I follow Apollos, and it's not about I follow Cephas. It's not even I follow Jesus. It is about Jesus. It is about Jesus Christ. And it is about Him crucified. It's not about you. One of our modern day comedians, he's not one of my favorites, but I listen to him every once in a while. He's fairly funny. But he likes to make fun of faith. He likes to make fun of religion. Christianity is no exception. And I was listening to one of his monologues the other day, and he said, people of faith, religious people are blank crazy. Something about bats. He's got a point. He's got a real point. Look at, what is the main symbol of the Christian faith? The cross. What was the cross? The cross in Paul's day, in Roman days, was a symbol of separation, exclusion, humiliation, and death. Separation and exclusion. Who died on the cross? Yes, Jesus did. But in general, who was crucified? Was everybody crucified? Criminals, the poor, slaves, non-citizens. If you had enough money, you could buy your Roman citizenship. And then if you committed a capital offense, they simply beheaded you. It was considered more humane. Okay, it's Roman times, okay? It's Roman times. Beheading was considered one stroke, it's quick, it's done, it's over. As opposed to crucifixion, where they nailed your hands and feet to a wooden cross, hung you up there for you to bake in the sun and for the birds to peck at you until you were dead. It was the most torturous way of death that the Romans could devise. It was a way of separating us from them. Us from those lowly peasants, poor, non-citizens, slaves. It was a means of separation and exclusion. It was also a means of humiliation. Because to be hung up there on the cross for all the world to see, for people to hurl insults at you, throw things at you, while your life ebbed away, it was a humiliating way to die for you and your family. It was the most humiliating thing that they could think of to do to you. was a means of torturous death. Because 2 or 3 days later, you eventually bled to death and died. And then along came Christ. Along came God, and God turned the whole thing on its head. God turned the whole thing on its head. No longer was the cross a symbol of separation and exclusion. It became a symbol of inclusion. Come to the cross. Come here. You are all welcome. It doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, free or slave. It doesn't matter. You are welcome here at the cross. We're all the same. We're all brothers and sisters, God's children. Come. No longer was the cross a symbol of humiliation. Humility, yes. Because we all come bearing our crosses. We've all done things that we're not proud of. We've all made mistakes. We've all done things that we wish we had. We all come to the cross bearing our own, and we are all the same. All of us, each and every one of us. It is a symbol of humility. And death was overcome. We just read it in the Apostles' Creed. 3 days later, Jesus rose from the dead. God raised him. And because of what Jesus did for us, we too, through the cross, have life. We too can come out of the death that we have created from our own sin, our own mistakes, and our own troubles, and live again. That is the beauty of the cross. It's nonsense to the world. It made no sense. The cross is separation, exclusion, humiliation, and death. But to people of faith, it's inclusion. It's coming together in humility, and it means life. But we live in divided times. It seems we relish in our divisions and separating each other. I was born in 1969. I'm 50 years old. My sons love to point out, that's half a century. Yes, it's half a century. In that half a century, I have never seen our nation so divided. I have never seen us so unwilling to agree on basic principles and basic concepts. Now, some of you have lived a lot longer than me. You remember the 1960s, the Vietnam era, and all of that. Maybe we were just as divided then as we are now. I don't know. I wasn't there to see it. Some of you have lived longer. You saw the Korean War and World War II and all of the things that have transpired since. So maybe we have. But in my lifetime, in my 50 years, in my half century on this earth, I've never seen us so divided. And that goes for our church as well. Our church is very divided on the LGBTQ plus issue. But I was born in 1969. 50 years old. That's when the United Methodist Church became the United Methodist Church. 68, 69 was when the Evangelical United Brethren Church, which was the church my mom belonged to, joined with the Methodist Church and became the United Methodist Church. This is the only church I've ever known. It's the only church I have ever known. And we are divided, so very divided. But then along comes Paul. And Paul says, look at all your gifts. Look at all the talents and gifts and blessings God has given to each and every one of you in your congregation. Look. See what God has done for you. Isn't it amazing? But Paul doesn't ignore the differences. And he says, bring them together, use them together to better the kingdom, to further the kingdom of God. That's what it's all about. You're all on the same team. You have difference of opinion. You have different skin color. You have different socioeconomic status. Use it together. Come together. Bring it together for the good of the team. Because you're all on God's team. That's the meaning of the cross. The unity, the humility, and the life. What Paul is saying sounds a lot like what my high school coaches used to say. There's no I in team. Some of you are taller, some of you are shorter, some of you can dribble better, some of you can shoot better. Work together. You're on the same team. It's not about I belong to Paul, I belong to Apollos, I belong to Peter, I belong to Jesus. It's not about I. It's about we. You are all brothers and sisters. Brothers and sisters in Christ. You are all sons and daughters of God. You're all on God's team. You're all together. Not one another. It's not about I and we. It's about us and we. And we belong to Christ. And Him crucified. And 3 days later, alive again. We belong to Christ.